everyone. Okay, we're going to do our sound check. Make sure you guys can hear us because we have a really cool topic here today. So I'm going to actually pull that up while Neil chit-chats a little bit here.
Sound check, sound check.
So if you guys can hear us, that would be great. Just give us the thumbs up. Oh, I see people are starting to come on now.
2 syllables.
Perfect.
Rhymes with.
Can't hear you. Okay, you can't hear us.
How about now?
Okay, can you hear us? Thumbs up. Let's see why you can't hear us. A little bit of a helter-skelter.
No sound.
There. Can you hear us now? Maybe that will work. Okay, so I'm hearing no sound. Can you hear us? Thumbs up! We can be heard.
I can hear clearly now.
You don't want
the sound.
You don't want
here.
Neil. You don't want Neil singing. I don't think.
No, people want me singing. See?
Really? You're going to be singing for people? Neil's a shower singer. However, we do have a professional singer that lives in our house. Our daughter is a professional singer. Who actually just got back from Iceland, singing in Iceland. A little chilly, but a great place to go singing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sing. Oh my goodness, Serena saying sing. You have no idea what you're asking. Trust me.
L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one.
Because this is not embarrassing. Very embarrassing. So I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. I know a lot of you might be at work or you might be sneaking your phone and kind of
taking a break.
But let us know that you're here. Give us a thumbs up. Tell us where you're tuning in from. And share with others because we have an awesome topic to talk about today. If you are private labeling products, importing products in from other countries, you definitely want to stay tuned today because we're going to be talking about tariff codes. And this is something that if you don't know what a tariff code is, we're going to talk about that. You need to if you are importing stuff, and you need to be well aware of them and not rely on others for that. But before we jump into that topic, let's talk a little bit about about the summit, what was going on last week. We launched our Amazon Private Label Summit last week, which is an ongoing summit. And so where you come in and we're going to have webinars every Tuesday, 5 o'clock Denver time, which is, what time is that? 7 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Pacific time, where we are going to walk through the launch of starting a private label business from scratch. So yes, for us, we've done it a million times over, but we're starting a business from scratch, from starting a business formation, how to get your business set up at the beginning, which we talked about in our last webinar in the summit, which was just last Tuesday. So if you missed that, you can still register for the summit, and I put the link there, www.Amazon Private Label Summit, and you can just register. Even though it does say the summit starts March 28th. It's okay. It's a weekly thing. That was just when the first one launched, and you can go in and register. You will get an email that you'll be able to see any of the past webinars so that you can catch up. And yes, we still have our Import Success Formula program on sale for $1,000 off. That's the program, that walkthrough that's going to help accelerate your results really quickly, and you're going to see progress really quickly. And each week at the webinar, we're going to tell you what part of the module you should prepare for the next session so that you can then start implementing with us live and start your private label business side by side with us. So again, Amazon Private Label Summit, we launched. We have next week on Tuesday, we're going to be jumping into sourcing, which we're going to be looking for the product. And then, of course, all the profits that we make from the product is going to go to a charity, which we're going to pick a little bit later. So let's jump in to, I see we have a bunch of people here. logging in. I'm assuming you guys can hear us now, which is great. So let's talk about tariff codes. Neil, why don't you explain firstly, for those who are new, like what is a tariff code? So
a tariff code is an assigned code that the government assigns to you, actually.
To a product.
To a product. Anytime anyone, every single product that is out there, before it can actually enter in the country, is assigned a tariff code. And it's based on the commodity, where it's made, the raw materials, what country it's coming from, how it was assembled, and they're all specified in detail to, even if it's something really obscure and they don't know what it is, it'll be filed under a category of what that item is, and it may be listed as other. And then within each country, depending on what the regulations are, because of NAFTA, so there are countries that fall under duty-free zones and duty-free countries, whether it be Canada, United States, South Korea. There's many countries that are duty-free for most of the products, but every product is assigned a code, and you really have to go by that code. And the more information you put on your invoice, your pro forma invoice, when you're bringing that product, it's going to be demanded by customs, as well as by your customs broker and by shipping agents, to have that tariff code. And then again, the more information you have, makes it coming through into the ports or through, whether it's an air shipment, very easy.
So again, I just want to interrupt.
And within each tariff code, if it's not duty free, there is a duty amount assigned to it.
So it is a tariff code is a code that is placed on your product, or on a product that is being imported into the country.
Correct. A numerical code. So it could be 7642, 4621, and then it'll have 0.90, 0.80, and it'll go on and on depending on what the product is.
And this is important because you need to have this code in order to know how much duty you're going to pay on your product.
Right, because and duties can range from 0, they can come in free, duty free, but as high as 200-300%, depending again, as long as it passes all the regulations and what it's passed under. So very, very important. It's your duty to know your duty. I always say that with our clients.
Today's a really embarrassing,
But it's I talk when I talk to companies all the time and entrepreneurs, and they say, well, duties, well, isn't it duty free? Or so and so tells me it's duty free. Never trust someone else on what the duty will be. Never trust even your supplier. You always have to check with the country that you're importing it into and importing. So if you're based in the United States, you're based in Canada, you have to check with the United States or Canadian regulations to see what the duty will be. Because someone said it's duty free, and all of a sudden it comes in, you're getting hit with $1,000 or $500, whatever the amount is, because there's an amount on it. So the reason why it became so important is I was talking with brokers, and what had happened was some brokers said, well, the duties are always changing, and you really have to check with your broker, and then you can go to the .gov, the U.S. tariff codes, or even if you do tariffcodes.gov, harmonized tariff codes, it'll bring you up to the state one where it lists, and you can go in detail. It gives you some explanation how to do so, entering your item and what it is, and then breaking it down. So the key was some of the products that I actually have a few containers arriving, and the products now are duty free. And before I had planned that they were going to be either 2.1 or 5.3%, they're duty free. So that was great for me. However, the new regulations for some of these products are they have to know what all the specifications are. So if it's a product that has a number of different things, you have to know that.
So I just see a bunch of people joining here. We see Roseanne and Peter.
Khalid.
Hey guys.
Hello, how are you?
So just to kind of get you tuned in, we're going to just do a little recap, and then we're going to go through. We're talking about tariff codes, and we're talking about how they're really important to know what your tariff code is, and that recently there's been some changes. So Neil's just kind of going through a story of what just we had noticed, where a good thing, our tariff codes became duty-free.
Some products are duty-free.
Duty-free. So we're talking a little bit about that, just to kind of keep you up to speed.
But other products, again, you have to know what the changes are. And again, you have to have a good customs broker, making sure you align yourself with a broker who works with a good agency who can check those specifications. So, and during the past week, again, I've had a lot of conversations with different shippers and different companies, even some of the officials at FedEx, where we've talked about some of the changes. And the biggest problem is where you may say, hey, I heard so-and-so his product is duty-free, and it's impossible because I've always paid 6% or 8%, whatever the amount is. How can they bring it in duty-free? It's killing my business because they're bringing duty-free. Well, the fact of the matter is they may be lying, and unfortunately that's what happens. Competitors may say they're bringing duty-free. They may be bringing it in illegally. We don't know because you're not in control of what they're doing. However, there are different websites where a lot of people go to, one called Datamine, Manifest Journals, where people will list. So these are private companies listing what duty rates will be, but they rely on in-house quasi-brokers or people who maybe they're retired brokers, individuals to list it. Now, they don't know what your product is, and maybe just a lot of times, unfortunately, guessing of what that duty is. And you don't want anyone guessing on your product. You can go for binding rulings. You can send the product in. You can get samples set in so you can actually have your product set with a duty rate and set with a specific tariff code so you always know what it is. The best thing is to be open and honest of what your product is. You never want to have your product seized, and you never want to get penalties or some type of certification sent to you that you're going to liquidate all of your products because it's either anti-dumping or you haven't filed it properly. So the key is here, always check with your customs agent, always check to make sure that that's the specific tariff code that matches your product. If your product happens to have a number of different raw materials involved and it's manufactured from a few different companies and you're bringing it together, you actually have to list those countries. You have to show where those materials, if one product, if let's say the metal is from India and the wood is from China and the buttons are from Vietnam, you actually have to list those countries because some of them may be duty-free. Even if though it's all assembled in China, it's not necessarily a product just from China. So again, your product may come in duty-free. It may have a specific tariff code that you don't realize. And again, you want to make sure that it's going to fit your profit margins and what you're going to sell your product, knowing, of course, what your product is going to cost you ultimately.
Mm-hmm. So maybe we can just chat a bit here about some of the changes, because tariff codes, there's some changes going on now with the tariff
There are a lot
codes,
of changes going on, and it's important again to know your products are always reviewed. There's something called the sunset review where they review products that have been under anti-dumping, and sometimes they just lift it. So now the products are not under anti-dumping. They don't fall under it. So a lot of people say, oh, I'm not going to bring in that product because there's so many regulations, but they've lifted it. So it's very important to look at these reviews. Again, you can always Google it. You can always question if your product falls under specific regulations or categories. But knowing those tariffs, again, if you go to harmonized tariff codes, if you Google it, it'll bring you automatically to the government site. And you can just follow along. You can play in there for hours finding. If you don't, and I do, I just love it. We have clients that are in the pet industry and they look for fish categories or different pet categories. And depending if it's a food product, if it's not food product, how it's categorized, and you really get detailed. And really when you get to the point where you just can't find it, don't say, well, I see that tariff is duty-free, so maybe I'll try that. Always run it through a customs broker that's certified, that's licensed, that's still active, and then send the product in for a binding ruling. You can Google binding ruling. It'll send you to a site where you can actually question, send in what your product is, and they'll tell you. So the best thing is to be open and honest and get those actual tariff codes that match your product. Very important.
I love it.
And then I'll sing too. But again,
Neil was singing at the beginning.
I always say it's your duty to know the duty. It's very important. And that was one of the inspectors who managed one of the largest ports always said to me, it's up to you. You're the consignee. You're the importer on record. You have to know you're responsible.
Mm-hmm. And the reason we're bringing this up now is a few different reasons. One, we just got notification, as Neil had mentioned earlier, that some of our products are now duty-free. So that's a big bonus. And another reason is because of the Amazon Private Label Summit that we're doing. So that's where we're walking through the process of showing you how we create a private label business from scratch. And one of the things that will come up in the future, in a few weeks, when we're starting to do some importing, once we find our product, that's next week, we're going to be sourcing for products, is going to be going through tariff codes and working with our
Official agent,
customs broker, and working with the team to work through the tariff codes and stuff like that as well, because we want to make sure, and this comes into place when you're sourcing for products as well, because you want to make sure that you're not sourcing for products that either are restricted or have anti-dumping or have extremely high tariff codes. So all this takes into play. So again, if you're following along with us over on the summit, then you're going to kind of see how that all falls in. If you're not following us, I did add the link, Amazon Private Label Summit. You want to sign up. I know the date says March 28th because that's the first day of the summit, which was last week. If you missed it, don't worry. Once you sign up, then you're in and you will get notification. You'll get an email that will show you how to log into past webinars so you can catch up. And then you can start following along. You'll get email notification when the next, which is Tuesdays, every Tuesday, when the next session will be. And again, if you want to accelerate the process, we have our Import Success Formula program, which is going to walk you through the steps of private labeling from start to finish. And it's really the accelerated way to get started, launch your business. And using those modules and training, we're going to let you know each part of the summit which ones to prep for, and then you can actually implement with us live, which is kind of a cool thing. So tariff codes, very important. I know a lot of people kind of shy away from this area. It's scary. Customs, importing, tariff codes, duties. Yeah, it's scary. It's like taxes, right? We're heading into tax season, right? It's like taxes and everyone starts it's not scary if you know how to prepare, if you know what to do. So again, all this information that we bring to you each week on Thursdays when we do our Facebook Live is to give you kind of updates and information so that the more you hear about it, the more you get more familiar with it. It's not so scary anymore, right? I mean, remember my background. I came from the dental industry. I knew nothing about products. I knew nothing about selling. I didn't know what a tariff code was. Mind you, I did know what the duties because, I'd like to shop from Canada into the U.S. and then I'd have to pay duties coming back. And I didn't like that part. So, and it scared me too. And then to think now I'm doing it with products. But once you understand it and you become more comfortable with it.
It becomes part of the flow of your routine. Mm-hmm. When you bring in products, you just know what to do each step of the way.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Tara.
Hi, Tara. And this way it makes it a lot easier. And again, if you have all your certifications, all your, just all the information at hand, very important, especially when you're talking to your customs agent, you're talking to your shippers. Mm-hmm. This way, here it is. It makes the process very, very simple.
And again, like Neil said, it's aligning yourself with the right people. Whether it's your, customs broker or anyone really, people working for you overseas, coaches, mentors. It's about having the right people that's going to help you succeed with your business, because a lot of you, this is new. Importing, private labeling is new, and there's a lot to know. There's a lot to learn. I have an advantage because I have 35 years of knowledge right here living with me, so I can pick his brain whenever I want. But it's a lot to know, and things could happen, and you don't want those bad things happening, because not only could it cost you your business, it can cost you a lot more. So the idea is to make sure that you surround yourself with the right people, you get the right information, and you do it right.
So you're successful.
Yeah. And legally.
Mm-hmm. Very important.
So
again, your duty to know your duties.
Exactly. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment in the feed, and we will definitely answer your questions, especially if you're listening to this as at a later date. We will definitely get your questions. And don't forget to sign up for the summit. The summit is free. So I put the link, make sure you sign up for the summit, and then you're in the queue and you will get notification for the summit, because let's launch our private label business together. We're going to be doing it from scratch. Let's do it together, right? You might as well do it with us. So again, we will see you next Thursday, and then we will be off to the Canton Fair in China.
That's right.
Actually, we'll be in Hong Kong first for Global Sources.
Global Sources Summit. Yeah.
And then we will be in Guangzhou doing the Canton Fair and our live event there. So we look forward to speaking with you next week, and we will see you then.
I'm so glad we had this time together.